Hi and welcome to David Tom Creations channel. Today I am going to be looking at the Impact LX25 Plus keyboard. Now I have already done a review of the 61 Plus, the LX61 Plus keyboard controller. This isn't going to be quite as in-depth as that, so I thought I'd cover some other things that I didn't cover in that review. And obviously this one does not have the faders, so the 61 Plus has 9 faders and also 9 buttons underneath for muting and soloing. So this doesn't have any real buttons for muting and soloing, but it does have the same pads, and it has the same 4 banks of pads. It has the same 8 rotary controllers. They're not infinite. They are fixed from, like 0 to 10, whatever. So they're not continuous like some of the ones like on my M32. And you have the same control, so you have the mixer control, instrument control, presets, track, switching tracks. So if I go back to mixer, you can see I can switch tracks, and it's going to try and load all the plugins, so it's not going to switch. So yeah, so that's me switching tracks, and just switch back to 1. So that's your mixer button, and if I press that again, we'll get the mixer coming up on the screen. And then just press again to close, and then instrument button pulls up my VST. So this is Hybrid 3, and the patch buttons don't tend to work unless you're in a Logic VST. And even then, it's a bit hit and miss. It works with some, doesn't work with others. So to be honest, you're really better just forgetting the patch buttons. I had the same problem with the 61 Plus. It worked great with a few Logic ones, but most of the time it just goes to... So for instance, if I pressed patch, it would go to, instead of going to the next one in action pads, it would go to the default in it for some reason. So yeah. So what I have done, and I set up the last one as well. So I've changed the velocity of the keys. So that it's I've gone from whatever it is the normal to kind of like softer velocity, and the pads I've made harder. So you have kind of like 5 settings. If I just have a look in my manual, so you get a printed manual, which is quite good, and it goes through. Hang on, so you kind of goes through DAW integration, octaves, transpose, program, etc. Your mixer controls, global controls. And then you've got pad learn, pad maps, velocity curves, etc. And that is the mapping for the pads, so it tells you which note. Now, when I reviewed the 61 Plus, I kind of made a bit of a mistake because I said that pad 4 and pad 1 were the same, but they're not. They just actually start off on, they're both on C1. Pad 1 is C1, but then this goes to D1, F sharp, A sharp. So they are kind of slightly different, and I'll kind of run through them later on. And then you've got your control assign, Midi assign, and various other, all to do with presets. Yeah, so keyboard velocity curves, it comes as standard or normal, which is UC1. So I've put it to UC2, which is soft. And it's the same with the pad. So the pad velocity comes as normal. So I've put it up to hard, which is PC3. because the pads are quite, you know, you do have to actually whack them quite a bit. So I've kind of hardened them up. So yeah, and like I said, you can have on the velocity curves, you can have normal, soft, hard, linear, fixed at 127, fixed at 100, or fixed at 64. And it's basically exactly the same for the pads. And then you have a panic button as well, which is D#4. So yeah, so that's quite useful. Yeah, because there's various things. So if you use the shift button, it will go to the it will affect the writing underneath the controls. So you got shift, and that's snapshot, null, pad learn, pad setup. So if you want to change the velocity, you shift and then pad setup, and then press velocity curve, or you press enter, which is C5, and then press velocity curve, and then you can press the plus and minus to adjust it. So, you know, it's a wee bit of a faff, and then you just press shift and set up to get out of it. So yeah, so you generally you just have to do it once, and that's it, unless you reboot the keyboard to default settings. And then you've got your one slider, which is the volume, the main volume, and depending on if you're in mixer. So generally this will adjust the instrument volume, so you can see on the screen there it's adjusting the amplifier level, and if you're in mixer mode, it'll adjust the track level, but it won't move until it picks it up. So if it's at 9, you have to go past 9 for it'll pick up, and some people like that, some people don't, but I think you can actually adjust it so that it doesn't do that. But it kind of makes sense, and it's the same with the controllers. It won't pick up until it's actually got to the level. So what I've done is I've actually mapped some of the controls. So I've mapped the cutoff on this, and the resolution, and the oscillator 1 shape and oscillator 2 shape, and various other things, and the pad position, and also the you can see the morph 1, that is the modulation wheel. So yeah, so this is Sky and Sound and Sky pad. So I can just take the level down on the amp. So that's the pad. So I've mapped that to the fourth control. So the cutoff and the resonance are actually mapped to the cutoff and the resonance. So it says cutoff resonance. So this won't affect it until I get right around to the 10th, and that's picked it up. And that's the resonance, which isn't really having much effect. And then what I've done is I've mapped 1 to the shape. You can see that. So that's mapped to oscillator 1 shape, and this second knob is mapped to oscillator 2 shape. Right, so the third knob isn't mapped to anything. So I'll show you how it works. So say I could map the third knob to the level on, or say the envelope on the filter. So if I click on that, and then on the Mac it's Shift, or we're in Logic, so it's Shift L, and then we go to Easy View, and then I just move that so you can see that's it. Learnt that. So knob 3 will now control the envelope, and then that's it. Just close that down, and then we'll just see what happens. Not a lot, but you can see it moving anyway. So it's very easy to, and it will remember that. You know, if you go to another preset or anything, it will remember those controls. So yeah. So that's it, and then I could obviously map some other things to part B. So like I said, these are mapped to part A. So if I, for instance, if I adjust the, so this is not, so the cutoff is not actually doing anything to part B. It's purely on part A. So I would have to do that as well. So yeah, so nothing works. Like the level doesn't work on the amp or anything. Yeah, so that's a wee bit of a pain, but because it's a completely separate sequence, you know, setup for the rest of it, so it kind of makes sense in a way. But I mean, to be honest, like I said, on the 61, a lot of these it's just hit and miss as to what happens. So you can see the morph working there. So but yeah, considering this is a really old piece of software, it's pretty easy to map it. And like I said, you just use like I said, Command L, you know, and then just say click on whatever you want, and then just adjust it, and that's it. It's pretty easy. Like I said, I didn't really cover that in the last video. So I thought I should. And like I said, the pads, you do have to yeah, because this has got a sequencer on it. Quite cool. I mean, I do like these pads. I mean, they're not, I mean, you know, people bang on about how good the MPC pads are, but to be honest, I didn't think they were really that much better. And the keys as well. I mean, the keys are nice. They're not as noisy as my complete M32. They're and they've got a nice kind of, you know, there's a bit of spring. I mean, they're you know, they're semi-weighted, but I do quite like them. And like I said, at least you can adjust the velocity levels to however you want. So that's quite good as well. So yeah, I mean, it is. I do quite like it. So yeah, so that is kind of how to use the mapping. And again, like the Alchemy stuff is not bad. I mean, it is. It tends to kind of map them reasonably well. Apart from it always doesn't tie up with what's on here, but for instance, that is. I'm not sure what that's doing, but the cutoff should actually adjust the cutoff. Yeah, so that one is normally quite good, and the resonance, yeah, is adjusting. In this case, the ring frequency, but that would normally be the resonance. And these top two, the third and the fourth, adjust the X1 crossfade. So the first one goes horizontal, and the fourth one goes vertical. So it's a bit like the golden shot. If anybody is old enough to remember the golden shot, you've got to try and get it in the middle and then fire. So there we are, bang in the middle. So that's quite good fun, just having a game at that. And then the LFO is, so that's it, 4 is adjusting kind of 4. And like I said, that is the ring LFO, which goes back up to the top for some reason. So they're all over the place, but never mind. At least the cutoff. So 1 is fine, and then 2, I don't know what it's doing. It's not on this page anyway. So yeah, and like I said, it is, you know, you can just remap these to the same way. So for instance, if you know you do want something, if you want to just map them as one, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4 to the top, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 to the bottom, you can, because it's just do the same thing. You just click on it, and so for instance, you might not really want those top 2 adjusting the crossfade. You could have them doing like the attack and the delay or something like that, or whatever. Yeah, so let's see, is this, that's doing, no, that's not doing anything at all, is it? Effects, no. Which is that one? I'm trying to find out what this, right, that's not doing anything. So the second one's not doing anything, so that could be assigned to, so yeah, we could assign that to the delay. Let's have a look. Right, so that's that done. Right, so righty-ho. Right, and we'll just go to the next one, which is, so yeah, so this is a bit, whoa, a bit loud is what it is. Right, so I did actually figure out how the volume is on the third page, so and I've lost, I can't remember which one does it now. Anyway, I'll turn it down. Yeah, so the master volume's on the not on the main page. Well, I mean, it's on options. So one of these knobs, whatever one it is, does actually control them. Right, so it's 4. So knob 4 is the main volume. And one of these is the, right, so that was the type. So it goes, so 8 adjusts the type, and one of these adjusts the drive. Right, so 6 adjusts the drive. And this one adjusts, so 5 adjusts the rotation. So So that's slow, that's break, and then that's fast. So yeah. And then one of these adjusts, yeah. So one of these adjusts, so 2 adjusts the pedals. And which one adjusts? Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it changes depending on which preset you're in. So I'm in Grand Organ. So we'll put that back to. So it's just a matter of trying to remember. When you're switching instruments, which is which, or like I said, you just reassign them to ones that you can remember. But you know, so it's all good. These pads go a bit weird on my camera. I noticed they start flickering, so I'm not going to use those very much because it doesn't look. So is that yeah, I'll just run through so I'll just run through the actual so on the pads, so if we're in pad, so this is basically pad map 1, which is green. So this is C1, C sharp, D1, D sharp, E1, F1, F sharp, and G1. And then you go shift and then pad 2. So pad 2 is G sharp, A1, A sharp, B1, C2, C sharp, D2, and D sharp. And then pad 3, which is the yellow one, is completely different. So it goes C3, D3, E3, F3, G3, A3, B3, C4. And then map 4, which is the red one, which I thought was a kind of mirror of map 1. It's not. It starts off on C1, but then it goes different. So it starts off on C1 and then goes D1, F sharp, A sharp, G1, A1, C sharp 1, and C sharp 2. So it's quite handy. Like I said, they do give you, and like I said, you can change those. So for instance, I probably might change 4 just to go up a full octave. So it just, yeah, on the white keys, just do an octave of white keys or something like that, because I think that bit may be useful, because you can't really remember unless you've got this with you. You know what all the notes are. I mean, obviously it tells me in Logic, so if I press that, it does actually say C1, C sharp 1, you know, D1. But I'm not always looking at the screen, so so yeah. Anyway, at least you've got that information there, and so I'm just going to go through. So this is a complete control VST, just to show you that you know, this thing does actually work with pretty much anything. So this is Monark, which I don't really use very much, but I thought I'd. And that's quite loud. Right, where are we? Let's take that down a bit. Let's see me shift it back. Right, so that the volume control on this, on the and this doesn't actually adjust the volume because there doesn't seem to be an actual volume control anywhere on here. So I've mapped this. Right, yeah. So I've actually mapped this myself because it wasn't really doing anything. So so I've mapped the cutoff. So there's cutoff in this section. You've got cutoff, resonance, and contour. So I've mapped the cutoff and the resonance to the cutoff and resonance buttons, and then I've made the third one contour. And then one of these is mapped to the octave. Yeah, I'll turn this down a bit. That is still quite loud. Yeah, so this second one, so it's quite cool. You can actually just switch octaves as you're playing. And then the next one is the fine D-tuner. And then some of the, I think this one's, no, where's the, oh yes, this one's the oscillator, so this one's mapped to oscillator 2. Yeah, so I've mapped 4 and 8 to the both of the oscillators, which is really the right hash of that. Let's try and analyze. It's quite cool. Yeah, so like I said, works with complete control, and then we've got Analog Lab 4. So yeah, and this does a reasonable job. So the volume controls the volume on the volume fader does actually work, and then these tend to be mapped kind of a bit odd as well. So it really does depend on the preset. So this so the cutoff is actually controlling the cutoff, and the resonance. These are normally the ones that are actually mapped. So yeah, so those are fine, and then the rest of them are just a bit hit and missy. So that is, yeah, 1, 2. So that's not so 3's doing the LFO. Yeah, so they're just, yeah. But like I said, you can just reassign them, and obviously I can't control. So on the 61, you could control the ADSR with those extra faders. So it was actually not bad. because this one has a lot of faders on it. I mean, normally there's not that much for the faders to be doing on a lot of these VSTs, but this one in particular, you know, you could adjust it all sort of, you know, quite easily. So, and the mod wheel adjusts the mod. Not so good down there. Right, so the LX25, and obviously, like I said, these all operate. So you got play, you got your click track, and then press again. So you play, stop, and then press again to go back to the start, and then obviously you can hit record. Yeah, that works fine, and then you can switch on the loop off and on there, which is pretty handy. And like I said, there is a kind of way of muting, but for some reason it didn't. I think you I can't remember, it's shift something or other, but it didn't seem to. Is it pad 1? Yeah. No, that's not it. Yeah, you can supposed to mute a track, but it didn't seem to work because it didn't actually the M. I mean, you're quickly just using the keyboard M button. So yeah, so that's one thing you lose out on, but not really that exciting, really. So yeah, and obviously you've got your octave up and down. So you've got 4 octaves down and 4 octaves up. And then you've got the transpose to go semitones. So you go minus 12 semitones or plus 12 semitones as well. So that's kind of fairly standard. And obviously you've got your pitch and modulation wheels. Yeah, so you pretty much got everything else. So Logic, GarageBand, Pro Tools, Cubase, Studio One, Bitwig, and Reason, possibly. I don't know. Maybe not Reason. But yeah, so because you do actually download once you register and sign in, you download mapping for whatever your DAW is and the keyboard that you've got, whether it's an LX or a GS or whatever, and then that's pretty much you. So from a mapping point of view, compared to some of the other ones that I've got, so I mean, I've tried the Arturia Keylab, and the mapping on that was shocking. I mean, it was, unless you were using Arturia software, it was just rubbish. And then I also tried M Audio Oxygen, and that was a bit iffy as well. So I think of all the ones I've tried with Logic, the Nektar range, whether it be an Impact or a Panorama, are probably the best ones. You know, like straight out the box, without having to do a lot of mapping. And when obviously, you know, some of the Solda stuff, and and it is actually very easy to map the controls yourself, especially these using the Midi Learn feature. So you're just as well doing that, and then you can set it up to however you want. And like I said, the pads are pretty good. I do like them. And like I said, you can reassign these using the so if you shift pad learn and then play a note, it will just, and then you can kind of keep playing a note until you get to the one that you want, and then just switch shift pad learn again. The one thing, I mean, the tracks work fine in mixer mode. The track selection does work pretty pretty quick. It just depends if it's trying to load a VST. And like I said, instrument is great. You just press once, up it comes, press it again, and the same with the mixer. So you press mixer again, up comes the mixer, press it, goes away. The one thing that doesn't work is the patch buttons, and it's a shame you can't reassign those to do something else, because it's just so random. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're in. Like I said, the only ones that worked really well was a RetroSynth. On the last review, RetroSynth was one of the few ones where it did actually go through it patch by patch. But even on some of the other Apple ones like Alchemy, that doesn't work. Arturia doesn't work. Hybrid 3 doesn't work. So yeah, so they probably work on Bitwig, but then this is just, it might be different in different DAWs. I mean, I'm working in Logic Pro X, so maybe they work in Cubase or Pro Tools or whatever. So if anybody knows that they work better in a different DAW, let me know, and I can put it into the in the comments, and I can actually put it into the review description, so that But I mean, overall, like I said, this was, I think, well, I'll put a link for Amazon. I think it was just under £80 for the 25 model, and then they do the 49 and the 61. And like I said, I had the 61, but really it was just too big for my desk space. I don't really have much space on my desk, and I kind of got it because I got a good price, but then I realized that it just was too big. So I've got this, and then I've got my my M32. So you can see they're roughly about the same size, because obviously these are mini keys, and then, like I said, these have got endless controllers. Now this is fantastic for complete control. I mean, that is really what it's designed for. Other than that, sometimes these work, sometimes they don't, but the mapping isn't as easy as on the Nektar. And the one thing I don't like about it is the lack of a proper mod wheel. I mean, really, these strips are, because you've no idea where it is. I mean, you've no idea, because there's no lights on it. I mean, some of the more expensive keyboards that have got the strips have got lights, so at least you've no idea where the mod wheel is. So that's one of the things I don't like about this, and the ridiculously small screen. Because for someone with bad eyesight, it's just hopeless. But the one thing I do love, or the main thing, is this rotary controller. For this is fantastic, and I don't know why more manufacturers don't have a rotary controller, because you can adjust the playhead with this so easily, and then obviously it's a 4-way, so you can move back and forward, up and down, and then press to select when you're going through presets, and that is brilliant, and it's a good size. I mean, like I said, you can see it's pretty much bang on the same size as this LX25, which is good because it fits under my my screen stand, which is the other good thing. So it keeps the dust off them, so I can just put it away underneath my screen when I'm not using it, which is great. Which obviously you can't if you've got a 61, because I don't have them set up. Like, I don't have stands for them. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that review, and if you have, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.